Guys, I am so excited because we're here with the incredible chef Natasha Gandhi-Rue. I love her food, pretty much love her. I love everything about her that I know. I love her story. And you and I are going to get to know her better today in this podcast, which I'm so excited and honored that she said yes. Natasha is the owner of the Kitchen restaurant in Wichita, Kansas. Natasha and her husband Scott opened their first location downtown Wichita in 2016. And then Tasha opened up the second location. I love it. So she has impeccable food. She actually offers cooking classes, which is amazing. And I just want to read a couple of highlights about Natasha. Okay, so she's been 15 years as an international culinary chef manager for Williams Sonoma. She developed and managed their culinary programs in all their stores worldwide. That's huge. The fun thing for a lot of us is that you are the winner of Guys Grocery Games Clearance Wars. That's pretty
It was a
phenomenal.
lot of fun.
I bet. And you were selected to represent the state of Kansas on NBC's Today Show for the Thanksgiving special. And of course, you're the winner of the Orpheum's Celebrity Chef Cook-Off. You have done so much in a short amount of time. Natasha, thank you so much for being on with us
Well,
today.
thank you. I appreciate the offer.
Well, tell us a little bit about you, maybe something we don't know.
Well, that's a really hard thing because I feel like my life is a story on Facebook, so you can always kind of see what we're doing and where we are and all those things. My crazy little life. I guess what people probably don't know is I never had any intention of owning a restaurant, let alone two. Never, ever. That was not something that I dreamed about doing. That was not
Wow.
something I even was fascinated by doing. Honestly, I didn't even really want to work in restaurants when I went to culinary school. I've always enjoyed the culinary education aspect, but you have to pay your bills, right? So my husband was the one who was like, okay, well, we can't open up a cooking school, but let's open up a restaurant because at the heart of it, I love feeding people. If I could feed people and not worry about bills and making money, that would be the dream come true.
Wow.
But since, we have to live in the real world, which also includes all the bills, we opened up our restaurant. So I always say I was an unwilling entrepreneur.
You want to open up a biz cooking school?
I did. We
Okay.
actually looked at the numbers and we know you do all those like checks and balances and all that wonderful money number stuff that I am not
Right.
very good at. And we just couldn't make it viable. But I always tell people, like, no matter what, whenever you're in any career, you have to mix passion with the necessities. So I never gave it up. I did put it on a hold for a moment of period while we were launching the first restaurant, but then cooking classes became part of our restaurant's business plan. And you have
That's
to hold
so
on to
amazing.
those passion people.
Dream was there and it came just in a different way.
In a different way. And absolutely, you have to keep adjusting, right?
Yeah. So you went to culinary school. What was the spark for you to even begin a life in the culinary field? Other than loving,
So,
I like to cook for people too, but you will never see me behind a professional line. So what was it
and
that did that for you?
actually, I went to culinary school as an adult. So I was a late bloomer for all things. I was working in corporate America after college and I just wanted to be creative. And it is such a satisfying feeling for me to cook for people. Like so many emotions are tied into food. So many memories are tied. I don't even think you can separate the memories from the food you're tasting. I think it's so interwoven. And I get such a huge satisfaction out of it. I was going through a divorce and I was like, I don't have any debt. I'm moving back home to New Jersey. This is the perfect time for me to go to culinary school and, see if I like it. I love the science behind food. I love all that stuff. So I kind of went without any real intention of what I was going to do with it.
Hmm.
Um, it was kind of a break from life. I just knew I didn't want to spend my life in corporate America. So I decided, oh, I'll just go to culinary school. And it was a harsh change up from wearing suits every day
Mm.
to I used to chuckle because I went to the French Culinary Institute in New York City. So I would commute into the city on the bus or the train every day from New Jersey. And you would see all the people like in their business attire and all that stuff. And then I'd be in like a chef coat and like I might have a fish scale stuck to my cheek or something. Like you're and so I was like, nobody ever wanted to sit next to me on public transportation. It was hysterical.
What did that
So
do to your ego shifting from
it was
what you thought
huge. It
the
was
world would
huge.
respect to this whole new, nobody even wants to sit by me on the
And
subway?
you get yelled at. Like we used to chuckle because, chefs are very passionate about their food and what they're teaching you. And they have to be because they're teaching you skills, but it's also interwoven with their reputation and everything. So
Mm.
I had never been yelled at in my life. I chuckle. I always say it was like form of military. And of course, my husband's a Marine. So he's like, no, it's not.
Right?
You can't compare culinary school to being in the Marines, Natasha. And I'm like, well, for me, it kind of was because I'd never been yelled at. I'd never been like
Mm.
reprimanded. And all you get to say is, yes, chef, sorry, chef, yes, chef, sorry, chef. And that was a whole new experience for someone who had led a very kind of spoiled life.
Dig into that a little bit because there's probably even some, I mean, hate to stereotype us, but we're women. We tend to be a little lovey and emotional. And so when someone is like screaming in your face and you're trying your hardest and you're sweating and you're doing the things, I mean, we've all seen Gordon Ramsay yell at people. So I think that's probably the picture well,
So
that's what I have in my
I
head.
think that is a little bit of TV drama.
Okay.
And not that I've met
Not
him,
that
but
bad.
I don't think it's like that.
Okay, good.
And that world is changing a lot too. So let's be very fair in saying that. And that's part of the evolution that the restaurant industry needs to go through. So I
Mhm.
don't want to romanticize it, but there was points where you did not cry. Like there's no chance. I guess I'm too stubborn. You're not going to see me cry.
Mm.
I might have gone to the bathroom and cried afterwards, but you're not going to see me cry then and there. So
Love it.
you have to develop a thick skin, but I think if you're going to run any business, you have to develop a thick skin. Maybe it's a little harder for women to develop that thicker skin, but it's necessary. I think
What
it's necessary in all businesses.
What would you say to that part of you that when you were in the moment and you're like, all right, girl, we got to pull our bootstraps back on and we've got to go make this happen? What was the conversation you had with yourself when you were at breaking point but you knew you needed to thrive? How'd you overcome it?
I think you just have to keep your focus on the fact that this is to make you better. This is not to break you down. And I
Mm.
think that you have to always look at intention too, right? Because if the intention is to break you down, well, then I'm going to use a bad word, but F you. But if the intention is to make you stronger and better, which was the intention of these chefs that were teaching you, then let's get on board and make yourself better.
It's amazing. That will and that survival strength of, and I know we're kind of being a little dramatic in you were making food and it was chefs yelling, but it's so in your core, like you talked about chefs, their food, they're so passionate about it. And you
It
develop
is.
that through. Do you
It's
develop that
passion.
in the culinary school?
Yeah, I mean, here and everybody that's worked for me will tell you that I say this. My mantra is happy people make good food. Our energy, our juju goes into everything. And
Mhm.
food is not just protein and carbs on a plate. Food is energy. So when you put happiness and love and that into your food, it translates all the way to that customers. And it's so important. So I do think that that passion is very, very important. I think that there's different ways to have happy people, but it is a mixture of discipline. And sometimes passions can get heated, right? And that's when
Mm.
people do scream and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a proponent of it, and I will say that I very rarely you'll find me doing it, but that's not to say that's not how I was trained. It's just
Mhm.
different.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. What is your favorite food story? You said food is attached to stories and memories. What's your favorite food story?
I mean, my mom cooked every day. It's kind of funny. Both my brother and I cook, and we cook well, I would say. My mom cooked because she was in charge of making sure all of us ate. But my
Mm.
dad was an exceptional cook. My dad cooked really, really well. So I have memories of my mom and dad cooking for like our community in New Jersey, and everyone would be in this tiny kitchen and we would cook. Or, holidays where all the aunties and uncles and everyone would bring different dishes. And Thanksgiving was like a hodgepodge of, because my family's all from India, right? So
Okay.
I'm a first generation American. I was born here. But so it would be like Thanksgiving food followed by curry and biryani. So it would be like all this different. And it's something that I think is so precious that you have those memories of your family working together or cooking together. My dad would make breakfast on Sundays all the time. And that was like his thing. He would be in charge of breakfast on Sunday. So, I just don't think you can take away the menu from the emotion,
Wow.
if that
I
makes
love
sense.
that. Yeah, it does make sense. I love that. You're the first generation American. Your entire family, like your mom, dad, everybody is from India?
Yes.
Wow. And so your parents, are they the ones that brought the journey here, or your grandparents
No,
who
my
decided to come?
parents came here. My dad came here and did his master's degree, and then my mom followed soon after.
Wow.
Uh,
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's different because we always had different food. And, growing up
Yeah.
in New Jersey, I think I was very, very fortunate. My best friend growing up, her family was from Italy. I think they were like second generation Italians, right? So all those cultural things. So I would
Yeah.
go over there and have amazing Italian food. The person who lived 3 doors down from me, they were from China. So we had amazing Chinese food. Like,
Wow.
we were surrounded by so many different great and food is part of culture. Food is intrinsically part
Sure.
of our culture. So growing up in
Mhm.
New Jersey, I got to experience all these different cuisines from around the world. So we were very lucky. And all of it was local restaurants. So to
Oh,
me, chain restaurants is such a oddity. In my childhood, we didn't go to chain. I remember the first time I was young. I mean, I was probably like maybe 10 or 12 when Pizza Hut came to New Jersey. And it was like, it's so funny. So this is my funny story
all
since
the
we're in,
Italians were rolling over in their graves.
well, it's hysterical. So here we are. A Pizza Hut opens. The first one was in Freehold, New Jersey for us. So that was about 25 minutes away, right? So we're literally driving 25 minutes. All the aunties, the cousins, it's like probably a table of 12 Indians, right? And there was a huge wait to have this pizza. And we were
Wow.
all like, oh my God, what is Pizza Hut? Like, it was so strange.
Wow.
Granted, we grew up eating mom and pop pizza that I would die to have every day.
Yeah.
We had it every Friday was pizza day
Yeah.
at our house. So we're there and the wait was so long. I remember my little brother fell asleep on the bench and then this pizza comes out in this, big cast iron thing. And we're like, what is this? Like, it was the strangest thing in the world for us because we didn't grow up with chains. I can still remember when Outback Steakhouse came to town and
Wow.
I was like, "Whoa, Outback Steakhouse. This is very interesting."
Yes, that's so fun.
So chain restaurants were such an oddity where I grew up.
Now you're multiplying as a restaurant owner.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a chain.
Okay.
A chain takes more than two.
Okay, I do wanna know, how do your personal values influence your business decisions? Like, all those times with family and those different connections that you made as a child growing up in those different cultural backgrounds. Is there any specific belief that guides you in your entrepreneurial journey? I can see food, but there's 2 aspects to what you do every day. So,
Absolutely.
what personal value or influence would you
I'll
note?
say this. When
Mhm.
you enter business, it's like when you have a kid. You know those statements we all make before we become parents? I will never let my child do this. I will never let my child do this. Well, guess what? That child is going to break all of those. It's like they know before they're even there, they know, okay, I'm going to challenge all those statements.
Right?
It's the same thing in business. Don't make a whole
Mhm.
bunch of I will nevers because you have to be adaptable if you're going to survive. Now, Now, that being said, there's some things that you have to have standards, right? There's some things that are non-negotiable. I don't think you need to have a gigantic sheet of paper of non-negotiables. I think being flexible and adaptable is necessary to make your business thrive. But I think there have to be certain standards that are non-negotiable. And a couple of mine, and I think it does go back to your core values and beliefs, is I will not reduce the standard of the food that I sell. What I
Mm.
believe is good, healthy food. If I'm going to serve it to my family, I'm going to serve it to my guests. And that
Wow.
is it. So that is very important. That is not a standard I'm willing to back down on. I would rather take something off the menu than serve you something that I wouldn't give my kid. So that's number one. And that comes back to, I think that's the standard that we live for at our home, so that's the same standard that we have to have in my business. The other thing is I'm not going to pretend to be something that I'm not. So I don't like it when people say, well, you need to be more like a male chef or something like that. I'm not. So I
Mm.
can't be more like them because I'm not male, number one. So I'm not going to do something so I have to be true to myself. So
Mm.
yeah, I might lead with a softer hand, but that's what I'm comfortable doing. It's hard enough running a business. I don't need the extra challenge of trying to be something I'm not. So I'm not a hard ass, tattooed, chain smoking chef that screams and throws things at people. If that's who you want to work for, I'm not the right person. I'm not going to gain respect by being that person because I'm not comfortable respecting myself then. So I think you have to be very comfortable saying, this is who I am. You can respect that and work with me. You can go work somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you have to be very comfortable saying that. I also will not be held hostage by anybody, employees or guests. And I think that is a statement that I say to entrepreneurs. You better be ready to do every single job in this restaurant. And there
Mm.
was one day at my downtown location, and it wasn't because all my employees quit or any of that. I had to run the restaurant with one other person. And I did it. And it was scary. And guess what? It's no longer scary. I'll run the whole
Wow.
place by myself if I have to.
Wow.
I will not be held hostage. You and I work together. The balance of power has to be equal. It shouldn't be this and it shouldn't be that. And I firmly believe in that. I want people that want to be here. I want you to have a good time because we spend a lot of time at work. But just because I'm soft doesn't mean I don't deserve respect.
Sure. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I give the same respect that I get. So there is
I
no
love it.
job that I haven't done in the restaurant. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't
what I
done
was
some of
gonna
them well. I'm not a good plumber, gotta be honest. But I have washed plenty of dishes and I am happy to do them again.
Yeah, that was the thing I wanted to dig into. Like, even when we first got on this call today, it was, and you mentioned you're in your office, it's like your jail cell. You don't want to be in here. You'd rather be on the line. And isn't that so true, though, for a natural chef?
Absolutely.
But to be doing the things, so there's a businesswoman watching this, and there are some things that she's having to deal with the plumbing, or she's having to work the whole place by herself, or maybe she's in the startup phase and she's not in a position to get help yet. So, what are some thoughts that you have for her in the scary parts of it and then also the value of getting it all done?
I think it's funny, but the me that was me 9 years ago before we started the restaurant is so different than the me now. The me now
Wow.
is more confident. And that confidence doesn't come overnight. It comes from a lot of crying, a lot of soul searching, a lot of panic. You have to have your cheerleaders, and my greatest cheerleader is my husband, Scott. Sometimes I get mad at him. I'm like, you think I can do everything? And he's like, you can. Do it. He is the greatest feminist in the
Wow.
world. He's like,
Wow.
you can do it. Though he doesn't like my plumbing skills either, let me just say. But he truly so believes I can do everything that I also now believe it, right? That
Wow.
support system is like, it's necessary. But you
Mm.
also have to be willing to blend what you don't like as well as what you do like, because both of them are part of your business. If there is someone who likes every single part of their business, I wonder what they're not paying attention to. 'Cause there's gotta be stuff
Ah,
that you don't like. For me, it is the paperwork.
oh,
I hate the paperwork. I hate it, hate it, hate it. But I have to do it. I have to know my numbers. No matter what business you're in, you have to know your numbers. You have to know how much you have to do to break even, to make money, to pay all your people. And then once you start to grow your business, you have a responsibility to them to know those numbers. Like it is a huge, honestly, it's a driving force, but it's the thing that makes me the most worried. I have almost 50 employees that are now that I'm responsible for, right? That's a
wow.
lot of people.
A big
For me,
deal.
that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Mm.
It's not just my family that I have to provide for. 50 other people that are counting on me making this business work and grow and all those things. So that responsibility is what I try to keep top in mind when I have to do the jobs that I don't love to do.
Yeah.
But I also think, and it's very, very important, don't forget to do the jobs that you do love to do. Because if you give up the passion, then this becomes miserable. Then just go work for someone else because then you'll get, okay, and all the other things that you give up when you become an entrepreneur. But you can't give up that if you don't trade your passion in for because then it just becomes a job.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you traded to be an entrepreneur as opposed to a chef in someone else's restaurant? What are some things that you traded?
So, time. My husband calls this my boyfriend, and he says that this gets more time than
Your
him
phone.
sometimes. And to truth be told, sometimes the boyfriend does get more time than the husband. It's the freedom of time, but it's really not. It's really not because at the end of the day, there's nobody else that's going to answer the phone. There's nobody else that's going to come in. You have to be ready to drop everything and do it. You slowly, slowly will develop people and you'll have to do it a little bit less. So when you say you get the freedom of time, you get the freedom of time, but it's not totally free. There's nothing that's totally free. You still are you're obligated to your employees, you're obligated to your customers. At the end of the day, when the phone rings, you have to answer it. So that's a trade-in. When you work for someone else, when you clock out, you're done. The other thing is the creativity you get. And also, it's not completely without its ties, for lack of better words, because I can only be as creative as the stuff that someone wants to eat. Because if they don't order it, then I'm not selling it. I can't serve it, right?
Right?
And there's certain things that we've put on the menu that I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love it. And I can like force samples on everybody. But at the end of the day, if no one's going to buy it, then you're not selling it, right? So you do have more creativity, but you don't have it's not unlimited. So sometimes I feel like my creativity is where I get to shine when it comes to like caterings or cooking classes because I designed those menus. So you have to figure out different ways to do it.
What is the positive side? What is the positive trade of owning a business? I'm owning my own business. I'm a slave to my business. My phone is my boyfriend.
That's
And I have to do the
not a
things I don't
bad
want to do,
thing.
and
It's just
I don't get a 401k. Why am I doing
the positive is in a world of uncertainty, you get to control more of the uncertainty. How about that?
Mhm.
So, what I mean by that is look, every day businesses are shutting down, people are getting laid off. When you own your own business, you play a bigger part in where you're going to be tomorrow. So, I'm not saying that there are other external forces that play into it. Of course there are. We don't live in vacuums, right? Every day when I start the day with how am I going to make my business better? How am I going to go in there? How am I going to get more customers in? How am I going to make my customers happy? What are we going to serve? How am I going to keep everyone busy? Those are the things I think about. So that's more in my control than if I worked for somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. And is there some significance that comes to in being the owner, not just the chef, but also the owner of the store?
I think it'd be awesome, to be a chef of a restaurant and not have a budget and be able to create whatever menu I wanted to and then just serve it. But that's not really the real world. So I think the harder part is you have to decide how to make yourself the restaurant owner and the chef at the same time.
Mm.
A lot of what I do is more restaurateur than chef because of the type of restaurant I have. We don't do fine dining. That's not my wheelhouse. That's not what I want to focus on. When I decided to open up a restaurant, my goal was I want to provide enough variety, enough healthy options, as well as decadent options that you could eat with us 4 days a week, 5 days a week, and there would be something on that menu that you would like and could afford.
Well, let me just say you've done it.
Thank you. Thank you. So that you have to have that in mind. So
Yeah.
sometimes my creativity is not in what they see here. Sometimes it's what I do for family meal for my employees or what I do with my friends. It doesn't all have to be at my restaurant.
Nice. You get your creative outlet.
Different places.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important. It's funny. So I'll tell you a funny story about how we started doing cooking classes again. So I always say Scott is the driving force. He's not like the wind beneath my wings. He's the boot in my butt, pushing me along, saying, "Go do this, go do that."
We
So
all
when
need
we
a Scott.
started, yeah. He's good inspirational person. So when we started the downtown location 9 years ago, it was hard. I wasn't used to standing on my feet for 12, 14 hours. I was the first person there. So I was there by 8 in the morning. I was the last person to leave at 9 or 10 at night. It was hard. Every day I felt like I was failing, and that's not a great feeling. And so I would be crying. And one day I came home and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't want it anymore. We need to sell. We need to get out of this. I am bloody done. And he was like, okay, just calm down, da da da, the voice of reason when I'm like, then he comes to me the next day and he goes, you know what you need to do? I wish if you're married, so you can understand this. The face I gave him, if it could have put him in like daggers throughout. So he goes,
That's
you need to
exactly what
start.
we all want to hear. Do you know what you
Yeah.
need to do?
He's like, so mind you, I'm working Monday through Saturday at this point, 12 hours a day. He goes, you need to start cooking classes on Sunday. What? Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you never want to see me? Do you want me to
Wow.
die? Like, how am I
Yeah.
supposed to do that? And he goes, listen, I love you. He goes, you are right now so surrounded by the muck of starting a business. You aren't feeding your passion.
Wow.
You don't need a rest day. You need to revive your soul. Your soul needs this. He goes,
Wow.
please just trust me. Try it. If it doesn't work, we will put the restaurant for sale and you can get out and do whatever you want. And I was just like, but
Yeah.
I did it. And he was 100% right. And I
Amazing.
don't ever like him to know that, but he was right.
Well, maybe he
Because
won't listen to this.
at the end of the day, oh no, he'll listen. At the end of the day, as tired as I was, and as much as I was feeling like a failure, I didn't need the rest. I needed to feed my soul. And doing cooking classes for me, it did. So I
Wow.
went to working 7 days a week, but that refresher, that boost once a week made all the difference in the world. And if
Wow.
I had not listened to him, which I don't listen to him all the time, actually, I don't listen to him more than I listen to him. But if I had not listened to him, we would never have continued the kitchen
Oh.
because I wouldn't have gotten to a point where I was willing to say, what else do I need to do to make myself feel better about me? And that was important.
That is huge. It's huge.
It's
Because
huge.
the norm is you need a break. But oftentimes
Right.
the break is worse because now we're just sitting thinking about all the things we need to be doing
That's
and
right.
that we're
Yeah.
not doing. And it actually breeds guilt because
Yep.
we're in lack of production mode and we need to be doing. So then we just have time to think of new things we're supposed to be doing that we're not doing. So it
Exactly.
actually just makes us implode as opposed to what
Yeah.
is it that brings you back to you, your
Yeah.
joy, your passion, your giftings, the things that inspire you to be all that you are. So once you feed that, that's like food and it just
That's
gives
exactly
you
what it was. You're
energy and
100%
courage.
right. And it was
Amazing.
it was really important to learned that lesson. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that he was adamant, and I was honestly desperate enough that I was like, "Fine, I'll try it his way and then we'll sell the kitchen."
Which
And he
means you
was right.
probably had something in you that knew that it wasn't time to let it go.
You know, okay, here's some real talk too. I'm very open about things, but it's very hard when you start a business to separate yourself from the business, right? It's all one and the same. Like when your child is little, your child is like it's part of you. You know, there's this you're you want it to be its own thing, but it's everything is part of you. And so anytime the kitchen did badly, I thought I was doing badly as well. So the success was part of me, but also the failure was part of me. And the failure was more overwhelming. And I had to separate out Natasha from the kitchen. And yes, it's my business, but it's not all of me. If it fails, it's not that I fail. And that took years and years of going to therapy and talking to someone once a week about how I can still be a good person and live a great life no matter whether the business succeeded or failed. And it does both all the time, right?
Wow.
So it takes, for me, that was a huge journey because I had to create that separation. Otherwise, it's overwhelming.
A lot of people feel that. Like, it is the
Yeah,
defining part of us. It is the part of, yes, you belong on this earth because you were able to achieve dot, dot, dot. And you were a good mother. You were a good entrepreneur. You were a good employee, whatever it was that we want to put the label of success on is hard for us to separate who we are and what we do
right,
because oftentimes we have integrated ourselves so much into whatever it is and we love it so much, and so that, just like you said, a mother and a child is huge. It's when you came to this moment of realization that you get to be Natasha, you get to be Chef Natasha, you get to be the kitchen owner. Like, what was that for you in knowing that you're separate and they don't define each other?
it's a better sense of independence. It's a better way to live my life than having panic attacks and anxiety about, oh my God, we didn't make our numbers. Somebody didn't call in. Somebody hates me. I got a bad review. Like, I remember the first time I got a 1-star review, and it was because our tacos were horrible. Well, we don't serve tacos. So, but that 1-star review, it still haunts me. I'm like, but
Wow.
I don't even serve tacos. But you cannot, to be able to laugh about it instead of obsess about it is important.
Mhm.
It's growth, right?
How could you, if there's somebody that's in front of you saying, I don't know how to get there, what's your best tip to move
I
in
don't
that
think you should
direction?
try to get there by yourself. I
Okay.
don't think this journey is supposed to be by yourself. I think you have your cheerleaders. I think you should have your support. I'm a firm believer in going and speaking to a third party that's not in any way emotionally tied to you as your friends and your family are, because they provide an objective opinion. And their whole job is to help you become a better person. Hell, that's worth it to me. So I'm a believer in it. I
I love
love
it.
it. Anybody that is around me knows that I love it. My time with Maggie is precious because
Mhm.
it helps me be a better mom, a better wife, a better business owner, a better employer. That's the whole reason I do it. So it gives you an independence from a little bit. Even if it takes a fraction of the worry and apprehension away, it's better than having all of it, in my opinion.
Love it. Absolutely. I want to know, what impact do you hope your business will have on the community or and the industry, or how you envision your legacy as chef and entrepreneur?
People come to the restaurant and they're happy with their food and they
Mm,
feel like they're at my home. So I want them to always feel, you know, I always tell my staff, we can't, if someone comes in a bad mood, they're in a bad mood. But maybe we can give them 10 minutes of respite from their bad mood. Maybe when
yeah.
they're eating, whatever it is, for 10 minutes, they can be like, And then maybe those people that just want something to make them feel better, they get it. Whether they're trying to fuel their body for a sporting event or they want to eat cake because they've had a crappy week, whichever one it is, that you give them that moment of just rest, break from whatever it is that they are in the middle of. So I like that. I love our Wichita community. I hope that the people who work for me see that I work with them and alongside them. And that's a great way to be a restaurateur. I think just being part of this community as an entrepreneur, I hope that other people see that there are different ways to do it. And it's okay to do it softer or more gentle or more touch with your feelings.
Yeah, that love compassion side.
Yeah. Because I don't think everything has to be done the same. And I think we need to break those stereotypes that restaurants and chefs are high egomaniacs that scream and yell. We don't need to be those people. You don't need to scream and yell and throw shit to be a good cook. No, we can leave that for the TV.
All right, I guess I'll quit doing that. My kids can eat without me screaming. That's so fun. I love your love of people. I can see whenever you talk about people, your eyes light up, and whenever you talk about the cultures in food, not just the food, but it's the people I think you see behind the food makes you light up. And I think it's really cool to see that you didn't even start out in the place of I'm going to do food. You started in
Yeah.
business and shifted. Now you've just found your niche. You're in your element. So much so that your peace spot, you knew your passion spot was to do the cooking classes. I just think that is so incredible. And your love of people and passion is so incredible. And how do you think that because you mentioned that you're not the same person you were 9 years ago. So what's a perspective that you can think of that you know has changed about you, or growth that you know you've come to in the last 9 years?
I think you become more confident because you go through it. And if you survive, then you won, right? So that confidence keeps you going. And then it's okay to laugh at your mistakes and appreciate the fact that you can make them and still carry on, because it takes a while to get there, you know? And I think it takes an evolution. You have to go on that journey and you have to keep adapting and changing. And, we always talk about before COVID, after COVID, right? Like that seems to be like some crazy benchmarker, because during that time, it was the craziest time to own a business, let alone a restaurant, because we were like enemy number one for
Right.
everyone. Like, you couldn't stand up, you'd give COVID, but you could sit down and take off your mask. Like there were
Right.
so many crazy rules every day. It was like, what are we going to do today? It was like, who knew what we were going to do? And don't get me wrong, I was not laughing about it then. I
Of
was like,
course.
oh my God. But we adapted. We continued to adapt and adapt and adapt. And you figured out how you needed to do it. And I was really lucky because, again, I'm going to say Scott. Scott is all about that. Like, let's just figure it out and we'll do something different. And that sense of survival also gives you a sense of confidence that once you're done with that, you can then flourish. But you have to survive to flourish, right? So sometimes you have to make tough choices, because these are the choices we have to make to survive. But then what are the choices we can make to flourish? I'm a
Fantastic.
very different person now than I was 9 years ago.
What are you most proud of yourself? What are you most proud of in the last 9 years of yourself?
The things that I didn't like, I embrace now because I know how important they are. Like numbers. I couldn't tell you how to balance a checkbook if you paid me money. And what's funny about that is my mom was an accountant. So she would always, the old school paper checkbook, she'd be like, come on, Natasha, let me show you how to do this. And I can remember even at a very 15 being like, oh, I don't want to learn how to do that, right? But now it's so important to know your numbers and know where you stand, because if you don't, How do you know if you can survive equipment breakdown, employee raises, good things and bad things? If you don't know those numbers, you're living in a whole world of uncertainty, and it's not one that I want to live in. So, things that I absolutely don't like, I do embrace because it's necessary. And that I'm really proud that I can say that. Because truly and
That's
honestly, I
amazing.
have no idea how to balance a checkbook.
Amazing. I think it's great. I love that you and even in recognizing in this conversation, I've learned that if I can survive, then my confidence will grow. I remember you were talking about the day that you had one other person helping you run the whole restaurant and you were terrified, but now you're not terrified anymore because you went through
Nope.
that journey and being able to be adaptable and recognize that there's a lot of elements to running your business and you may not like them all, but it's okay to toughen through things that
I'm
you
not
don't like.
saying there's not a need to delegate things to other people, but if it's your business, you better know how to do every part of it. Because at the end
That's
of the
good.
day, the one person you can count on is yourself. You better know how to do it all.
When's a good point to delegate? When do you know, okay, it's
Oh
time
man, I'm
to
learning that one right now.
okay.
It's the new challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But having two restaurants, I've had to delegate and trust a
Yeah,
lot
you have
because I
actually.
can't be at both locations at the same time.
Yeah.
And there have been days where I've tried to drive back and forth, back and forth. I mean, Wichita's not big. I can get back and forth, but then I'm like, "Man, God, I spent 3 hours in the car today because
Yeah.
I've been driving back and forth." That's stupid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm having to learn it because 0 option not to. I cannot split my being into 2 people. So, I've had to learn to delegate.
So many of us want to
Yeah,
be able to be in 3 or 4 different places at the same time.
100%. We all want
Yeah.
that.
Wow, I am so impressed with your tenacity and your strength and resolve and your go-getter spirit. I mean,
Oh,
it,
thank
you know, this
you.
is a great cheerleader. We know this and your
He is.
team. I mean, I have partaken in your restaurants multiple times and every time had incredible service. So your team is phenomenal, but it does take that woman that says yes to this dream that is nothing and walk it out. And just hearing your story and the way that you overcame and some of the obstacles, giving us a glimpse of your life, Chef Natasha, has been it's been such an honor to be
Oh,
able to
thank
talk with you
you.
today. Really appreciate you and your time. Is there anything that any parting words you want to give or anything you want to share with our listeners that maybe you had lingering or
Don't worry about what other people's perception is of what an entrepreneur is supposed to be, or chef is supposed to be, or a florist is supposed to be, or a social media influencer. Don't worry about those supposed to be's. You just be
Mhm.
you and then do what you want to do with it. Done.
Wow.
I don't like all these perceptions. I can't tell you how many times people are like, you don't really appear to be a chef. You don't really act like a business owner. Well, what does that mean?
Right?
I am, so I guess I am. No, like, okay,
Interesting. So the naysayers,
just
just shake it
ignore
off.
them.
Yeah, I
Focus
love it.
on the voices that matter,
That's good.
even inside of your head, right?
Yes. Sometimes that's our hardest one, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe give grace too, right?
Yeah. I adore you. Thank you so much.
You're so sweet.
Chef Natasha. You can follow her on social media, of course. She owns the kitchen in Wichita,
Yep.
Kansas. And if you ever get around to trying it, you will not be disappointed. And I'm taking advantage of the cooking classes. I'm telling you what, because if
Yeah,
I can learn how to
definitely.
make your food, I'm still going to your restaurant. But it'd be fun to know how you did it.
I get it.
Love it. Thank you so very, very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.